All right, we are back talking college basketball. We have one of our favorite guests, Mr. Justin Perri from Shot Quality Bets. Justin, how the heck are you doing? I can't believe it's January.
I know. Happy New Year. I'm so excited that it is officially conference season. Best time of the year. We get to really load up on these crazy slates. Going to be talking a little bit about, of course, how everything's been going. But I don't know. It's been crazy. It's been a lot of games, a lot of new stuff coming out over at Shot Quality, a lot of games to track because our model plays like almost every game, it feels like. But it has been a big year and an exciting time to just be a part of college basketball. I feel like the product is so good. The games are already like looking like March games. We just had this Baylor TCU game that I couldn't like stop watching, and what a it's just what a treat. It feels like this is exactly what you want to see. Right when the conference season starts, people are really trying to avoid losses, cement their positions, see the direction their seasons are going. So very exciting to see it all get underway.
It's a wonderful time of year, my friend. Conference play is huge. I always remember those totals can be a little bit too high when it comes to conference time. It's these teams try a little bit harder, at least at the beginning. That comes in the defensive end of the floor. So keep that in mind for people. I love the fact that we're kind of away from the whole mess that you have in December. There's a lot of weird scheduling situations. Some teams just have 15 days off for whatever reason. I mean, it's all over the place, but I heard there's a few new things coming to Shot Quality Bets. I'd like you to explain to our listeners what those are, man.
Yeah, we have some new features coming out in the next couple of weeks that we're really excited to show off a bit. We have a model record page that we're dropping, which has this whole new way to take a look at what our projection system has done. Our model has been lights out this season, returning about 120 units already on the year. Pretty high volume. So what really I try to emphasize is more the return on investment. We do have a lot of picks. Let me pull up the full record because we just was looking at it this morning. Yeah, 1,133, 915, and 34 on recommended plays. So very high volume, very reliable. But can be a lot of plays, right? It's hard to tail everything. It's more of a resource, something for you to check your numbers against, have like another way to look at the game with a reliable 5.5% return. Well, what we're doing is bringing another look to that data by having it accessible after the fact. You've only really been able to see projections on the day that they're happening, but now we're going to have them all stored forever. You're going to be able to go back and see how things projected, what actually happened. And then if you are a premium member, our shot quality expected scores of how the game was expected to go based on shots taken, not just, the variance of shooting, which is going to be a really great resource for everyone. Very excited about that. But that's just the start. We also are bringing a very powerful tool, a custom model creator, which we're really excited about. Like, you can combine any shot quality variables into your own custom regression model that gets automatically fit to past data to rate itself on its like return and tell you the record it would have had at different points of value cutoffs. So you can basically build your own models on your own variables and find its sweet spot and really learn, how to model different things with different attributes on various styles of play. Like, you love the Big East. You think that they're going to slow down. You think it's all about, how they defend the paint in that conference. Maybe you only use it for one genre of the D1 universe and, customize it towards how they play. So there's going to be a lot of fun things that we're going to be able to do with this as we continue to build it. But the first version is going to be coming out this month.
I love it. And you can dive deeper into conference play and kind of see how these teams do within the conference. Good example, last year, Northwestern in the Big Ten was a team that looked great in the non-conference. They were rising to the top of rankings. And once they hit Big Ten play, they're the same old Wildcats. So that'll happen.
Yeah. Look, they got a big win last night. It's been great. It's been great. I mean, maybe a comment more on Illinois, but we can talk about that.
Well, we will talk about that. And it's great, all the changes that are coming and the improvements coming to shot quality, because I picked a game this weekend that involves Illinois. We have Illinois versus Wisconsin. And, if you've been listening to this show, you know how much of a Badger fan I am. But that doesn't mean that I'm afraid to bet against them. So I always keep that in mind. looking at shot quality here, I take a couple key things in this. And I know the shot quality score is pretty close. I'm expecting this to be about a 3-point spread. Illinois, especially after losing that game to Northwestern last night, which was a rivalry game, Illinois is coming back home. Illinois is very deep, but they haven't really had anybody shining yet. I thought that Matthew Mayer would be a little bit better so far, but it's going to take time for these kids to gel together. A couple things about Wisconsin, and what I really liked about what shot quality shows is that there's some aggression expected here from their 3-point percentage. When they get a wide open three, they don't miss. They don't seem to hit it according to the shot quality scores. They hit it off the dribble. They're a very good 3-point team just because of it, but they're a little bit shooting over their ability, in my opinion. They're only 26th, 263rd, I should say here, in shot quality. Shot making, I believe that's the percentile ranking, the 26 here, and 196 in rim and three rate. Well, you look at Illinois; they're great at defending the rim, even with a guy the size of Crawl that's going to be in the post. And Wisconsin hasn't been good in the post at all. They're one of the worst post teams up here. When you have Illinois, they have a very good rim and three rate, 36, and I love teams that are great at the rim, great at three. One key thing that might not be factored in is Tyler Wall went out last game, and he went out with an ankle sprain. He tried to play a little bit, but couldn't. It looked like a pretty nasty ankle sprain. If it wasn't a high ankle sprain, it's a bad one. High ankle sprains are the worst, obviously. I'm not sure he's going to play this game. This is a perfect spot for Wisconsin to regress. Wisconsin, this team, they do keep games close, but it's time that Illinois kind of puts their foot forward here with all their skilled guys and take it over. I'm going to like this spread probably all the way up to 5. I'm going to take Illinois at least all the way up to 5. I expect the spread to be 3 to 4. I would say get it a little early because I believe that books won't factor in the Wall news until a little bit later in the market.
I love it. And I love how you use the shot quality data there. Honestly, I think what you're keying in on with what Illinois does is a really good way to look at it. I love one of my favorite stats is definitely shot selection. And I think it really quantifies what our data is able to do. And what makes it so special is like we evaluate how good shots are based on the player who's taking them, right? Not just, is it like a good shot because defenders are close? That's all factored in, but it's also on like an individual level. So they are making sure that the players do not take shots that benefit them the most, right? They are limiting their opponents to bad looks. And the thing with Illinois, right, is that the shot making allowed has been in the around the middle range, right? So they're more like 47th percentile in that. And what that means is that guys are still hitting some of those tough looks against them. You can see some of that in the regression expected, the post-up regression for Illinois' defense. The guys have a 54% post-up field goal percentage, expected 43. So that's a little bit of a drop. People are doing better than expected there. So it could improve. We've seen some tough losses for Illinois. The Missouri loss that they took, excuse me, shot quality win on that Missouri loss, which is
plus with Missouri, the way they played yesterday doesn't look so bad, does it?
Right. And again, Illinois was expected to limit Missouri to a lot less threes, and Illinois was expected to score more on threes as well. But it is a game of shooting variance at the end of the day, and sometimes you can definitely make the right play, but get the wrong result. And I think that might have been what happened in some of the matchups that Illinois has played, and that means that there's value on the other side of them because people see them as worse than maybe they should be expected to be, and they should maybe play better than that lowered expectation in the public market.
Yeah, completely agree with that. And big spot for them. I think they have more talent, and Wisconsin's, they're due to lose one. I hate using the due word. That's a handicapping word, but it's just a spot I think where Illinois is going to capitalize. They need this big win, especially after that loss to Northwestern. Yeah. So I almost made me feel they're looking ahead. Why don't you pick a game for Saturday, and we'll go from there?
Yeah. I'm excited to talk a little Big East. We can hit it quickly. Xavier is going to visit Villanova. This is a pretty massive matchup. I mean, we just saw Nova come off of a big second half against Georgetown. I don't know if you credit Villanova or if if it's detriment to Georgetown, like who gets if it's a win or a loss, it's kind of interesting. But I mean, look, Villanova has been playing very well. I think maybe better than people expected in the last couple games. I mean, the close game to Marquette, they maybe should have won that, but they played a tough UConn team pretty well, and they're still missing one of their best players, but holding their own in shot quality, rated 51st on the year, going against this Xavier team that's rated 29th though. So I don't know exactly what we're going to see for the line. Expect that it's going to be like almost a pick 'em, maybe open up with Nova favored by like a point. I personally like this Xavier team. I think they're going to cause some problems down low for Nova, who relies on excellent shot making. Xavier's going to match that. Xavier actually takes really good shots. They limit their opponents. They have not allowed their opponents to just get the best looks, and they're just consistent almost everywhere on offense. So the PNR ball screen, they run a pretty high amount. They're really efficient in it. And you can also take a look at their finishing at the rim. Their off the dribble 3-point ratings are really high. And they're pretty good at defending the same things they're good at. I don't know why they can't seem to stop catch and shoot threes, but I would imagine that would progress over time to a norm. It's higher than it's expected to be. 3-point regression is about 5.5%. Teams are shooting 40% against them. We rated at 34. So, that's what it's going to take. Honestly, if Xavier doesn't win that game, I'm guessing it's because Nova shot lights out. That's how I'm handicapping it. And I think you can get probably a decent price on Xavier, as people are still slow to realize that this is getting to be pretty clearly, one of the best teams in the Big East. I know a lot of people probably still have them behind Creighton and Marquette. But I personally like Xavier and Providence more than both of those teams. I know we saw a huge performance from Creighton, but and Kalkbrenner looks to be the glue for this whole thing, but that's a big deal. He obviously hasn't been in the lineup a lot, and they're a little up and down, so we got to see it. But I like the Xavier team. I definitely like them over Villanova, even on the road. So that's my take.
Yeah, I have no disagreement with that. Xavier is the better team right now. I know there's no Jay Wright with Villanova no more. Now, the thing about Jay Wright is that and I think it will be a 1-point spread too, because it does follow the Ken Pom model. I think that the Villanova always wins by shooting the three, right? I think that's a very important thing that people need to see. But Villanova is just not the same 3-point shooter that they've been. You can see an open three rate right here on the screen. Nova 350th. What is going on? That is pretty bad for open three rate. And then here's another thing. I know this says a V. This means X. That
we got to fix that. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's
no
on our list.
No worries. No worries. Xavier is going to be able to defend some of those 3-point shots anyway, but it's not going to hurt them. And if you look at some of the regression stats, Villanova is actually due for a regression at the rim here by 2%, mid-range 2%. So it's just a spot for Xavier to kind of show that they're the better team. They have the better shot selection, ranking 26th in shot selection, adjusted shot quality score 30th. They're just kind of moving up here while Nova's kind of moving back. Xavier was mad last year that they didn't make. Some of these kids, obviously new ones. They didn't make the tournament last year, and this is one of the team that's always been at their crutch, and they're going to come in pretty hot. I love how shot quality has this game 70.8 to 66.6. Love the game. Going to definitely be watching it with you, Justin. So we'll check it out.
I'll have some money on Xavier. I promise you that. I can't wait for that line to open. Hopefully we get a nice little early line, and we can get maybe even a pick 'em. And I'll probably play the money line. Just feels like the right play at this point. I don't know your take on this one, honestly. Do you usually like when you have those small favorites, are you taking the money line? Are you taking the spread? I mean, I get a little concerned in these scenarios that the kids are out there playing for the win. And especially once you get past a 3.5 point spread, I do sometimes split my bet up. And it's tough though, because you do get a better price. If you were going to pay for points, you shouldn't ever do that. But the spread is a decent value, especially considering the price. But I especially in conference play, the money line starts to look a little bit more alluring.
Well, here's the thing. Rothstein always tweets, went up 3, you always foul.
Yeah.
College basketball used to land on 3 a lot, but now teams are fouling, a little bit more often, which is the right move. If there's 15 seconds left, you're up by 3, they got the ball, you foul them. You don't give them the opportunity to get a whistle 3-point or possibly even a 4-point play. You don't give them that opportunity. You give them 2 shots and then they try to foul you, you make your 2. And sometimes you won't make both. And then the seconds run out when you're up by 2 anyway. So, because of that, I know you never lay 2.5. You never lay 2.5 because there's always better numbers out there. If there's a 2.5, there's always a 2 out there for one. As far as the dog's concerned, anything over 3.5, I do sprinkle the money line because if I like it over 3.5 anyway, numbers wise, it kind of computes to where the money line is usually got enough juice in it for me to put a little bit on there. And I've tracked this. I've tracked it over years, and it proved to be worth it to sprinkle your money line over 3.5. So
especially on dogs, dogs. Yeah.
So yeah. If you like the spread,
right.
Yeah, it's only going like it. It's only going 5%. The juice is minus 110, 5 cents one way, 5 cents the other. Obviously, when there's the spread's higher, the percentage goes up. So if you're liking a dog anyway, there's going to be enough juice there. Usually on a little bit of a money line spread.
That's how I feel about Maine tonight, and that's plus 500. So
all right, well there you go, Maine. There you go. If you're watching, Justin likes Maine tonight. So there you go.
I like taking. I think the plus 500 is a little high. I think that Maine could play themselves into a spot where you can hedge the other way and just sit back and enjoy a little arb spot. So you never know. But anyway, I wanted to really quickly touch on maybe one more game, or did you want to talk about another one? What did you have?
How about this? You pick another game while I do this one. I like TCU versus Iowa. Now, of course, big weekend for TCU coming to the national championship. Of course, that's going to be on Monday, but still, what a game last night, TCU versus Baylor. I stayed up watching it, and a little easier for me towards the West Coast when you are on the East Coast. I get to bed a little bit earlier, but these basketball games go late. They're great, but I believe in TCU. I think that they got a lot of momentum going. I think they have a lot of momentum going with all their sports programs consistently. But Jamie,
I feel good to be a Horned Frog right now.
Yeah, for sure. What a great coaching job by Jamie over there. I think he used to coach Pitt, and he just keeps moving up. I forgot his last name there, Dixon. That's it, Jamie Dixon. So I just couldn't believe how they kept up with Baylor. This was a big spot for Baylor last night with LJ Cryer coming back and Flagler was there, and they're hitting their shots, but TCU just looked motivated. They look fast. They're coming off their ball screens fast. I mean, if you look at some of these shot quality numbers, and let me share my screen real quick, it looks like a big advantage here for TCU. I love TCU's number 2 in shot selection. That's part of the reason.
That's so impressive, man. That's so impressive. And then, it's just and you can see it when they play. Like last night, they just get good looks. They finish their shots close to the rim because they get there effectively. The offenses run well, and they're also in transition so much, like 18% right now in transition and 21st in shot quality points per possession, getting 1.48 expected points per transition possession is very, very difficult to deal with when you're getting 18% of your possessions like that.
It's amazing. They're stealing. They're getting lots of turnovers. I think that's
first
the way
in transition frequency. That's not it's their first in transition frequency. So they're just gonna run. They're gonna turn it into a track meet, and they're gonna see if you can stop them from getting clean looks when they beat you down the floor.
Absolutely, and not just that. Iowa State's looked at as a defensive team, and I give it to them. They rank high in a lot of numbers on defense. You can see in their shot quality, number 1, 21st at shot selection on defense, which is really something that hard to quantify, but it's just the way they play defense. They defend the good shots. One thing that I've noticed with Iowa State is not only that are they terrible in offense, 348th in shot making, 220th in shot selection, 249th in rim and 3 rate. They're a little fraudulent with that record. I know TCU hasn't had the greatest schedule either, but at least TCU played the Baylors. They played Texas Tech. They played Utah. They played Providence. They beat Iowa. Iowa State played Iowa and got their ass kicked. So here's what's going to help your line here. Iowa State played Baylor. but everyone forgets that was without Baylor's two best players, Cryer and Flagler, and Iowa State won. It was a big home game. You know how it is in Ames. And then they go on the road and beat, overrated Oklahoma team. Let's face it, Oklahoma's not that good. But other than that, they lost to UConn by almost 20 points, by 18. They lost to Iowa by 19 points. Their best win besides that was St. John's. And, St. John's is a pretty bad team. It took overtime for an early Villanova win, and Villanova's only ranked in the 50s in many locations. I think Iowa State's record's a little bit fraudulent, and TCU obviously going to be the home team. They're going to be a 4-point favorite. I like this all the way up to 7. I think TCU just takes care of business, my friend.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Iowa State, they have a couple more wins than we expect over at Shot Quality. Their their actual record right now, 11-2. We have 9-4. So expecting a few more losses for them, maybe not that strength of record that, people see, and it impacts betting lines, right? Like, oh, this team's 11-2. Well, what if a couple of their wins, they got a little bit of variance in their direction and won a game they shouldn't have? So it happens. It happens a good amount. We had the Villanova game as actually a tie and a slight loss. So they have been on the luckier side. So I don't know. I think Iowa State should be a decent fade here. Again, their Baylor game where they won 77-62 was a shot quality loss of 65-68 at home. So I'm with you. I'm with you. I think it's a decent fade spot. Their defense has been the best in shot quality, but if there is going to be an offense that comes in there and presents a unique challenge, it's going to be the way TCU is running right now. I don't think they've seen the average frequency rate against this Iowa State defense has been 6%. So they are going to see a 200% increase, right? A triple in what they're used to. These guys are just going to be attacking them like what they haven't seen. They have big bodies too, and it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game. I don't know if Iowa State.
Yeah, and when
that's the thing.
Yeah, and when they're forced to run, they were losing. They're forced to run when they played Iowa, right? They're forced to run in some of those big losses that they had. So I think that's a big important factor that TCU is a running team. They're going to use that to their advantage. So one other thing that I want to mention about this handicap is that people are going to say this is a letdown spot for TCU. No, it is not a letdown spot because they beat Baylor, and here's the reason why. First of all, TCU is still underrated. They're not getting their respect. As a 13-1 team, a lot of people are ripping at their conference or their non-conference as well. And number two, coming into Iowa State, they're coming back home here, and they're going to want to prove to their home crowd that they are legitimately a top Big 12 team. It's not a letdown if you are not a higher team, in my opinion here, especially early in conference play. There's no letdowns early in conference play. If this was February and this happened, maybe I look at it a little different because they're going to have the time to get the respect. They're going to have the time to think hard about it.
I think that you can have a letdown maybe when you get a win you shouldn't have. Like, if it's like a big like road win, and then maybe like it's not necessarily like a letdown spot for the team as much as it is for the expectations and the spread, right? So like because we're playing two different games when we're putting points on the board, and we're laying it and we're getting extra value. So I think that letdowns for betting versus letdowns for teams can be very different, and we need to be able to see the difference. They're both valuable.
Absolutely. I think it's important to know right when conference play happens, these guys are excited every single game. What's the last game that you want to talk about, Justin?
Yeah, let's quickly just get into what is going to go on with New Mexico and UNLV. I'm excited about this game. I think these two teams are going to give us a show. UNLV was, one of these undefeated teams. They took a couple losses here, all deserved, but they're definitely hungry to get back in the win column. Only won against Southern Miss in their last 4. But we rate them as one of the best teams in terms of forcing defensive turnovers. They're 37th in adjusted shot quality or around that. They 1.07 expected points per possession on offense and limiting defense to 0.91. So doing a pretty good job and seeing, again, what's going to go on with New Mexico. We actually rated that Fresno game as a win, which is pretty interesting, by not very much. We actually had 64-64 and probably like a decimal point win. So it was definitely one of those games that was up in the air of who got, maybe a roll or two, or, maybe a call or two. That was a pretty interesting game if you watched it. But I think this is going to be pretty close, maybe closer than people expect. UNLV ranks higher than New Mexico, and you're probably going to get a pretty good line fading New Mexico still, and an expected bounce back, but they're still going to have to battle it out in conference play for sure.
So is there a side you like?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely taking UNLV.
Okay, I want to make sure of that. Okay, cool. I'm with you.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're expecting like New Mexico to be favored by about like 4 or 5 points right now. So I'd probably take those points. I could see UNLV giving them a run for their money.
Well, not just that, UNLV is great at forcing turnovers. They're number 2 in the nation at forcing turnovers. And I think that's huge. Also, UNLV plays a very fast pace. They rank 28th in average possession length when New Mexico ranks 46 in average possession length. I think this thing could go over. Yeah. Lots of teams are trying to slow UNLV down. UNLV is playing very good defense, and that's part of the reason. And I think that could be the reason that why they get this spread. I love fading overvalued teams, just like I faded Connecticut last night. I, took my play with Providence and Ed Cooley and took the 5 points. And heck, the sprinkle on the money line worked out really well for that one because, you're looking at plus 220, plus 240 on that. And they won outright. It wasn't even close at the end. They won by double digits there. So, this feels like the same situation. New Mexico coming off a loss, just like UConn was. Well, you think, oh, this is their get up spot. No, they're probably a little timid from that loss. And UNLV, a very good defensive team. If you look at the defenses that New Mexico faced, really non-existent. The only one that was good was St. Mary's, and that was just a low-scoring game. So I do give them credit for that. No, obviously.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how UNLV deals with the way New Mexico goes at the rim, right? They really, and they also don't commit a lot of offensive turnovers. So it's really going to be, something's got to give here. If New Mexico takes care of the ball and gets it done at the rim, they're probably going to continue to win, put themselves in good positions to do so. But their defense has definitely not been anything to really write home about. They have, I guess, good defensive playmakers, but their metrics look a little bit mediocre. Something they are good at is the off the dribble three, which I'm assuming helps them keep scores low, but 121st in defense on shot quality is not really going to make it the hardest to sort of score against them. And you saw that with a team like Fresno State. I mean, Fresno, I think that's 6 wins in a row for Fresno against New Mexico. So you have to also consider that conference play for this New Mexico team riding this high. They have a huge target on their back right now in conference play. Everyone wants a piece of them. Like, oh, they went 13-0. Like, they're going to have, like, UNLV is going to put good performance together. I like taking the points on this one. It should be a fun game.
I agree. You're going to probably get quite a few points here, 4 or 5 of them at least, in my opinion. So UNLV is a great spot to fade New Mexico. So there you go, 5 points. There's plenty of room there for something kind of back and forth here happening at the end. Love it. Well, that's Justin. Great breakdowns of some of the biggest games coming up this weekend. I love the information at Shot Quality Bets. I love how you can see all the regression and I guess anti-regression, negative regression stats that you can see here. You look at it from a complete different perspective when the whole market's using things like Ken Pom and Bart Torvik. You have this site that gives you a different way of handicapping that is hitting in a profitable way. So that is fantastic. If you guys want a piece of this, use the promo code odds23. You get 30% off for Shot Quality Bets. Justin, where could our listeners and viewers get your great information?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go follow us on Twitter, Shot Quality Bets. You can follow the parent company, Shot Quality, if you're interested in some of the stuff we do for NBA. A little sneak preview that will be expected to come to Shot Quality Bets before the end of the NBA playoffs. So for next season, there's going to be NBA Shot Quality Bets, which is going to be awesome, including a player prop model. But anyway, we got great stuff coming. There's so much cool stuff. Like, we're just getting started with what we're building on this site. We are here to stay, and you're going to hear about Shot Quality a lot more. So yeah, definitely give us a follow, Shot Quality Bets. We got really just like some of the best data out there that uses some of the most up to like the second positioning data for how shots are taken. And it just gives you a way to look through the noise that is result driven efficiencies that are very common now. And of course did give us everything that we're here doing, right? Like these efficiency metrics paved the way, but there is more to be done. And we're seeing it across a lot of sports with expected metrics. Shot quality is bringing that to basketball and helping us understand the quality of play rather than the results of it and the variance that we see occur in real time.
Absolutely. And make sure you follow Justin at Justin Perri 8. Justin, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Always happy to join. I will see you next time. I hope you all have a very profitable new year.